Now let's move on to learn about cumulative frequency diagram, which is a powerful tool to help us analyze and interpret data. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to construct cumulative frequency table, plot graph, and use them to answer real-world questions. We first need to understand what cumulative frequency actually means. Imagine we are collecting data on the heights of students in our class. If we want to know how many students have a height at most 160 cm, we can't just look up the regular frequency table like the one you show on the right. Instead, we have to add the frequency as we go along. And this is what cumulative frequency actually means. It gives us a running total and helps us to answer questions like how many students are at most 160 cm tall. Now, this is an example of a frequency table. The first column represents class intervals, which groups the data into range. The second column represents the frequency for the number of values that fall within this range. This table is our starting point before we construct a cumulative frequency table and graph. So how cumulative frequency works? Each row cumulative frequency is the sum of all the previous frequencies. We start with the first row, 140 to 149 centimeter. That's a frequency of 3. As this is the first one, the first row, the cumulative frequency is just 3 itself. Then we move on to the next row, 150 centimeter to 159 centimeter. Here, the frequency is 7. So the cumulative frequency is the sum of this current row and the previous cumulative frequency. So 3 plus 7 equal to 10. Now let's move on to the 160 centimeter to 169 centimeter row. Here the frequency is 12, and so the cumulative frequency for this row will be 12 plus the previous cumulative frequency, which is 10, which gives us 12 plus 10 equal to 22. And the next one, 170 centimeter to 179 centimeter, we have frequency of 9. We add this number 9 to the previous cumulative frequency to give us a cumulative frequency of 31. Then for the last row, we add 5 to 31, which gives us 36. The last cumulative frequency should be equal to the total number of students. In this case, we know that the total number of students should be equal to 36. Now, let's start plotting our first cumulative frequency diagram. It is a curve that shows cumulative frequency against the upper boundary of each class. Help us answer certain percentile-based questions like finding the median, or the upper quartile, or the lower quartile. What are the steps to plot this graph? First, you need a cumulative frequency table. We already have one, but I made a small change here for you to see how we can translate the previous table into one that can be used more easily to plot this cumulative frequency diagram. As you can see, we only use the upper bound of each class interval. So instead of the height between 140 to 150, we simply take height less than 150, for example. We give it a cumulative frequency of 3 over here. Note that there's no cumulative frequency for height less than or equal to 140. So we start with 0 for height less than or equal to 140. With this table, we can plot the graph. First, we have the graph, and we have to plot the x and y axis. The x-axis is the height, which represents the upper bound of each class, and y-axis is the cumulative frequency. We have 6 points over here, and you have to plot each of them. Make sure to label them with an X. And once you have these 6 points, you join the point with a smooth curve. Note that you join with the point with a smooth curve and not using straight line. Remember to label your axis properly. Now that we have the cumulative frequency diagram, how do we find the range, the median, and the interquartile range? Find the range is easy. We know that the highest height here is 190, and the lowest height here is 140. So the range is simply the difference between them, which gives us 50. And we know that the cumulative frequency at the highest point at 36, which means that there are 36 students, and the median will be at the point where the cumulative frequency is at 36 divided by 2 equal to 18. So we draw a line from the point where cumulative frequency equal to 18, a straight line from there, the y-axis, until we hit our graph, and then we see what's the height. This gives us about a height of 166. Similarly, for lower quartile, we know that the lower quartile should be at the point where the cumulative frequency is 36 divided by 4 equal to 9. So we draw a line from y-axis where y equal to 9, draw this straight horizontal line and see where it hits the curve. And we can know that it hits the curve at about 158. Similarly, for the upper quartile, it will be when the y-axis is at 3/4 of 36, which gives us 27. We draw a horizontal line from where y equal to 27, and we know that this happens when the height is about 175.